Well, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me here on December 2nd. Oh my gosh, it's December. Holy smokes. So, what's up with this radio? So, the radio's operation was very weak. I tested all the tubes. I replaced two or three, anyway, of them. And the result was an improvement in the output strength, the volume that comes out of the radio. Reception a little bit better. But I still think it's falling short of what it could do, and I suspect the alignment is off. One of the reasons for that is, well, it's weak. That's possibly an indication of poor alignment. Another one is when I changed the tubes, I noticed the tuning position changed on the dial. It moved a little bit over. That suggests that something is no longer aligned the way it should be. And lastly, checking the alignment at this point is about the easiest thing I can do, so that's kind of why it's a little high on the list. So we're going to be using the signal generator here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jam the IF frequency into the antenna here. Some of it will hopefully make it all the way through the radio into the IF. And we'll be able to see an output or hear an output. And then through some machinations on my part, we should be able to sort out if it's aligned or not at the correct frequency, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be 455. But clearly I'm going to have to stop for a minute and attend to my cat. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. What is it? What is it? Hey you. What are you in here for? Oh, he wants to go that way. That was it. You saw the communication. That was the answer. Okay, I'll go see what he's up to. Then we'll try this radio. Just before I go ahead with that, I think in the last video I mentioned a tube that we're going to take a close look at. Here it is, so let's do that now. Nothing to do with this radio at all, just a tube that I was testing, and I made an observation. Not a terribly unusual observation, but there you can see I wrote on the side of it, 50C5. This is a 50C5. Now what's unusual about it is the black material. A very unusual formation, I guess you could say, pattern. So what is this black stuff? It's clearly on the inside of the tube, and you see that pattern down in the bottom left area, down this area here, where a big fat finger pointing at it. You have long dark strips. On one side of it is nothing, and on one dark strip. I better point at this stuff, or else I'm gonna lose you on this. So this is the strip here, and on this side there's almost nothing, and on the other side there's almost looks like a flow. It looks like almost like little glaciers. Little fingers sticking out. One side nothing, other side, but wait, there's a bunch. Very hard to see, but it's all darkened up in here too. Now, when you look inside the tube, what are we looking at? I think we're looking at the plate, I believe. I believe this outside metal is the actual plate. And then once there's a porthole in the plate, and this black stuff is forming around this porthole. Not above it, only below it. Look at how heavy the black formation is here. Again, below the hole, but there is some above. But the vast majority is below. You have that strange fingers sticking out of it. Oh, there's a like a semicircle, almost like a line, a clear area right along there. So conjectures as to what this is. Now it's probably written about, I've seen this many times, a lot of tubes have this effect in them. I believe it's a high mileage tube, a tube that was running maybe a little hot too, I'm not sure of that. But a tube that has a lot of operating hours on it. What is the black stuff? Well, we can take a guess. Black is carbon. Where would carbon come from? So there are various materials inside the tube here. I'm sorry it's so dirty there. It's hard to look through it. Various materials inside. Probably some contamination from the factory procedures too. We're talking about molecules and stuff like that, or gas molecules. We're not talking about large volumes of material at all to make this black mark. So we could think about the heater. Okay, the heater is getting very hot, so we can imagine that some kind of chemistry is occurring with the heater and the cathode. We know the cathode has a coating in these tubes to make it more emissive, and the coating ablates over time. The electrons, I guess it's the electrons banging their way out of it or something like that. It slowly ablates away, and perhaps that material coming off the cathode floating around in the tube eventually gets blasted onto the inside of the glass here. Is that what's happening? Is there like a circulation? How can there be a circulation? There's no air inside here. Circulation of ions in some way. They get blown out from the high ionic pressure inside the cathode. They come out through the hole there. Is it flying electrons? The electrons are flying into the cathode, but part of the cathode has a gap or a hole, a door, and a few of them come shooting out, but you would think that would make a pattern, wouldn't it? And then I ask the ultimate question, the one that troubles me all the time. What about quantum mechanics in these tubes? What about quantum mechanics? Quantum mechanics says if you don't detect something like an electron, you don't really know where it is. It's everywhere. It's everywhere at once until you detect it, oddly enough. Slamming into the glass is a detection, is it? Isn't this a little like the two-slit experiment? And the glass here is the screen upon which the particles are impinging. I don't know. Is that some atomic level pattern there? That message from another planet? I don't know. Okay, enough of that. Enough pondering about that stuff. There's lots to think about inside these tubes. They're not as simple as we like. The model we have in our heads that we work with is very simple, and we see it on the schematics. The cathode, the grids, and the plate, and of course we know it's not like that. We know it's all circular, but we still think of it kind of that way. Is there a lot more going on in these tubes than we might realize? And the answer is yes, there is. Okay, now let's get back to this. So I'm going to feed in the IF signal and feed it into the antenna. And it's all set up already. I forgot. Let's turn on the radio here. on. It should be. So we're in shortwave. Really doesn't matter where we're set here, broadcast or shortwave. There we go. Now we're going to set the signal generator, certainly not 11 megahertz, down to 0.455. Already passed it and didn't hear a thing. $5.15. 490. What are all these, I can call them sidebands, but they aren't. Well, why am I getting these multiple signals? Now, I do have the signal generator cranked up full. It can be producing harmonics. These don't really seem like harmonics. Oh, this isn't supposed to happen. So these could be harmonics coming from here, much higher in frequency than what the thing is set for. But we are on short wave, so we're up around 10 megahertz. What a radio.
Listen to me. Please, even to those who are not dead, these are living human beings who have not died. They might be judged according to human standards in regard to the body, but live.
So you think those are happening every 426? Let's set this to 500. Is this every 500? So we're at 300, 8.3. 8.8. 8.3, 8.8, that's 0.5, that's 0.5. That guy. So we should see it at basically the same spot on the dial again and again. 92, 10.2, 11.2, 12.2 getting a little fadey. So it's harmonics coming out of there being picked up by the radio as a radio. That's what those side things were. How true is that? Let's go back to 450. 460. What's going on? So if this is the IF, then the tuning won't affect it. And it doesn't affect it. Maybe has some kind of minimal side effect to it. But so I thought that said 78 a moment ago. What am I? I must be seeing things. I was about to proclaim the IF is for some weird reason way off. It shouldn't be way off. I'm the one who aligned it. last time. 457. Tune through it. A little more volume. What's that little? Yeah, that's all. So what I would say about this is it's a little bit off. Not really much though. Now it's assuming it's supposed to be 455. It's possible it's 460 in this radio. I don't know offhand right now. Seems fine to me. So the next question would be the rest of the alignment. Now the rest of the alignment is more likely to cause a problem here because when I changed tubes, we saw that the radio tuned in a slightly different position. Well, that's probably not related to the IF at all. That's probably related to the local oscillator varying in frequency. And if you had everything all lined up, and now the oscillator shifted off, well, there we are. No longer aligned. So to check that, I'm going to have to get the manual, figure out which of these adjustments is the local oscillator for what band, and just do the alignment. And we have all these down here too. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, unfortunately I had a video segment failure. The last video segment I did, my software froze without me knowing it. So I have to redo it. I hate going back and redoing stuff. I'm going to show you some interesting things here. An interesting thing. Do you hear that interference noise? The ticking, very, very fast ticking. Okay, with nothing more than my hand. Okay, now here's the interesting part. What happens if I ground myself and do that? So I'm going to reach across here. I'm going to ground myself on this big machine. I'm just going to grab onto that. Oh, you can already hear the effect. I haven't even got my hand in the radio. Am I the guy who's... Is it in me? Is that my heart rate going? Whew, hope not. Okay, so here we go again. Grounding myself. So the next thought that went through my head during my previous failed recording was, well, why don't I just strap a ground on me, and then I won't make a noise, because I'm going to have to stick my hand in the back to do the alignment. I really don't want to listen to that. It's going to throw everything off. Then I thought, you know what, strapping a ground to yourself while you're working in a shop like this is like one step towards suicide. There's no way I'm going to do that. So, okay. Now you've seen this a couple times now. I've demonstrated that grounding yourself can influence this kind of stuff. Gee, if I could only find the thing that's making that sound, then I could ground it out. Okay, on to other stuff. So I'm going to try to align this radio with it in the cabinet. There, we can turn that down. To do that, I have to stick my hand in there, as I just demonstrated. And there's a couple of adjustments here. Maybe you can... There's one here you can't really see. There, you can see it now with my hands out. And there's another one. It's hard to see. It's right... Ooh, wait, what did I touch? Whew, Jim, you just gotta think about where your other hand is. So my other hand is not in my pocket. The other hand is holding onto the tripod. That's why it's swinging around like this. So I got one hand on metal and the other hand I'm touching this radio. Breaking my own safety rules here. Don't bridge two pieces of metal with your hands. Don't become a bond wire. Okay, so one adjustment here. These two adjustments and all of these ones down here are all related to the push buttons on the front. I don't think we have to do anything with them at all, unless I want those push buttons to be calibrated properly, which I'm not too interested in, frankly. The adjustments I have to get at are the two on top of the capacitor here. Should be able to do that with a shorty screwdriver or something. And three more that are you can't see them in the camera. They're down here, right at chassis level. Two of them are cores on threaded shafts, threaded rods. And the other one looks like a capacitor because I can't see anything sticking up through the hole. That's what I got to do. Let's take a look at the schematic, and I think this is the point where my computer froze. But let's see if I make this work this time. Okay, here we are. Here's the schematic, which we're not going to look at right now, but much of it, all this is all those push buttons. There is something interesting about these push buttons and the coil system that's being altered when you're pushing these buttons. It's a peculiar kind of circuit, which I won't go into right now because I can't. I don't understand it. I just read once about it. And not to worry about it when we're doing this part of the alignment here. So it turns out it's 460 kilohertz, and when I look very closely at the tuning of the IF, it comes up to be probably 459, which is close enough for me. So we're going to do this line first. There are 5 adjustments to make. Now down here is a diagram, which I'm going to rotate. Whoops. Okay, and so here are the 5 adjustments I need to do. There's one here, and that, and that. 5 adjustments. The first one is the oscillator done at 600 kilohertz. Here it is right here. So this is the first one to do. Okay, now what are the actual instructions? Attach the signal generator through a small capacitor. There already is a small capacitor in the circuit. 600 kilohertz on the signal generator, 600 on the receiver, and then we make that adjustment and we try to get peak volume out. Okay, so let's go 600 kilohertz here. Okay, 600. So that's 600, even though it says 599. Turn the radio up here, and 600, eh? So we want to be on broadcast. Broadcast. 600 is here. That's probably, what is that? That's 8 something. Not so good, is it? That wide? I'm blasting a huge signal into the back of this radio. Let's get it more normal. Okay, so if I use my VU meter here, I think that's going to work. That would be it there. Upon close examination, we see it's not on 600. It's down around. Oh, look at the pointers on an angle. The pointer, is it swinging back and forth? No, it's stuck on a permanent angle. So the top of the pointer one is lined up at 600 pretty well. Oh my gosh, what would I do about that? I don't think there's anything I can do about that. Well, we'll just accept the pointer the way it is, and we'll align it like that. So we want to get that to be 600. Oh, that's just drive me nuts. Angle there. Okay, 600. So I have reorganized all of my alignment tools, which means I don't know where they are anymore. So I'm going to stop and hunt them down. So I have a little bunch of little tiny tools. I need those. I went through the bulk of my life with one or two alignment tools and like nothing. Not that it mattered much. I wasn't doing a lot of alignment work through the bulk of my life. But more recently, I have acquired a rather silly number of alignment tools. These are the small guys, the short ones. Can you see down there? All these all nicely organized, ready to go. Look at that. I can't believe I've gone from, not having much to having a ridiculous amount. But that's not all of them. How have I got these? I did not go out and buy them. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it? Look at them all. Oh, that's not even all. So, surely to goodness, you should never have a complaint about aligning anything because I don't have the right tool. What I could complain about is I got too many tools to know what I got. That's really where I'm at here. Why I organize them so I could literally become aware of what I got here. So, okay, let me just put this back. Getting back to the short ones here. So I'm looking for one like that. That I can reach in there and do the thing. And I also need one that's got a blade on it, because I think there's a capacitor in there. Blade sticking out, blade recessed. Why? I can. Okay, so it's late in my life in a sense, but I've really lucked out here on a few things, and this is one of the alignment tools. There's no end to my alignment tools. Now, what are we doing here? We're turning this up. We're setting this to 600. We're setting that to 600. The reason we can hear it, even though it's off, is because I've got the volume turned up full and a fairly strong and moderate signal coming from there. So now I want to engage with that. I can't have it turned up this much, or I'm going to have to ground myself, which I think is a dangerous move. Put it as low as I can hear it. Okay, I can still hear it. And I'm going to reach in there. I don't hear it anymore. Oh, wrong one. Right off the bat. Okay, here we are. I'm engaged. Listening for the tone. Here it comes. Okay, now I'm going to look at my VU meter here. Not so much the VU meter as listening to the quality of the tone. There we are. So now the radio is aligned 600 on 600. I gotta take a look at the next step. Let me just take a peek. Here, the next one is C3 at 1500. It's another oscillator adjustment. C3, 1500. Let's go up there. Okay, that's 1500. And now we're gonna go up this. I say it's right on the money. I don't think I can make that any better. So that second oscillator adjustment's not necessary. Let's go in the middle, find out what's happening. So we'll go on 800. 800. Oh, we can't get down that low. Let's just go here. We'll do it this way. 800. So a little out in the middle. But not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Good. It's possible I could fool around with the ends adjustments and cause the middle to, move a little bit, but what for? Really. What we want to do now is the next one on the list, which is that's it. That was it. There's no antenna adjustment here. The next ones are done. Oh, there is one coming. 600 kilohertz, 1500. So next we go to the shortwave band, 17 megahertz. We're doing the shortwave antenna C1. Okay, let's just take a peek at that diagram and figure out where. Oh yeah, C1. They don't have the number, the name there. It's a shortwave antenna adjustment at 17 kilohertz. Okay, shortwave adjustment, antenna adjustment. Okay. There it is. I know where it is. It's the top of the capacitor. It's this one here. Good. Okay. So let's go 17. Now this is an antenna adjustment. Oh, wait a minute. Is there no oscillator adjustment? Let's take a look at that diagram together. So here's the 1700 antenna. Where are we doing here? 600, 1500, 600, 1500. There's no oscillator adjustment for shortwave. Really? That's hard to believe. So 1700 shortwave antenna, and everything else is BC, 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 and BC. Ah. Okay. Well, we'll jump up to. We'll do this thing. Rock through signal. So the rock through means you're really trying to align three things simultaneously. That's where this rock through, that's what it's really trying to indicate. Okay. Okay. Rock through. Okay. So 1700. Hang on there, camera. Don't fall over now. 1700. 17 megahertz. What am I saying? 1700. It's way up here at the top. Hello. Oh, I didn't change the band. Duh. Close. Very weak. This is a moderately strong signal. I do not have the ground connected from the signal generator radio. That might be causing it to seem weak. That's very weak though. Maybe it's the alignment. So I do the rock through thing. I've got to do this very slightly. I'm going to do this. I'll have to do this with right hand, and like this. Let me give it more juice here. So we're trying to do it with a low output so the AVC isn't interfering with the process. But if you're very careful and listening very carefully, you can do this with the. Oh boy, this is going to be tricky. Okay, let's give me some light. Don't touch the chassis, Jim. Actually, I think touching the chassis should quiet it. Yeah, just ground right to the chassis. So I'm getting close to this wire, is what's happening. Ground here. Pay attention to what you're doing with your free hand. Okay, we're in. We're sort of in. Oh, it's stuck. It's stiff. There it goes. Now, what happened to the tone? I probably tuned it out. This is going to be tricky here. Okay, get on. Okay, here we go. Okay, rocking through once. That was 4. Turning. Rocking. Turning. Rocking. Is it getting quieter? Turning. Rocking. Back. Oh. Shoot. Okay, going back. Back to way back. Okay, rocking. Seems louder. Seems louder each time. Quieter, quieter, quieter. Doesn't seem like the rocking thing is really necessary. Anywhere here. It's an antenna adjustment, so you wouldn't expect it to be really sharp. That's it for that band. That was all there was. Now we got to do the another shot at the broadcast band. Broadcast. I like these buttons. Broadcast band, and now we're doing it at 600 again. And what are we doing? L3. L3. Okay, just a moment while I figure out which one's L3. Oh, wait a minute. L3 again. Need the name. BC antenna 600 kilocycles. BC antenna 600 kilocycles. So it's the farthest one back. Down yonder. Yes, down yonder. That's exactly what it says right in the instructions. This is an antenna adjustment that I'm using. I haven't got an antenna connected, and I'm running with a signal generator with a small capacitor. Should be okay, I think. Let's see what happens anyway. Let's see what happens. So we need some kind of signal. Why don't I do it with an antenna hooked up? Okay, that's a good idea. Let's try it. Well, that doesn't help much, does it? because we're doing this at 600. We're doing it at 600. Very, very quiet. What happened here? So the antenna is not switched on. I have to run and switch it on. So I'm going to do that. Okay, I have the antenna switched on again. Just the center lead is connected to the radio. Perfect.
It's probably up to it. It was almost arrogant that built this team outside of Tyreek Hill. Like, I still can't believe they went that route. Yeah. And it wasn't that they got rid of him. They got no pass catchers on that team. And kind of arrogant to think that they can do it. And they pulled it off for a lot of
Again,
seasons.
just by ear.
Skill to winning games, but very hard to look at them with a lot of confidence like he has the last few years.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But I do think when push comes to shove, betting against Patrick Mahomes is probably
Quieter.
something I would avoid. He's just shown you time and time again now that he can get it
Louder.
done almost irrespective of who the pass catchers are in Kansas City. Like, Travis
Quieter.
Kelce does not look the same. If you talk about the eye test, this guy can barely move off the line. He's not Travis
Yeah,
Kelce
broadcast.
from a couple of years ago.
Isn't there an antenna in here?
If that's the case.
No, there is not.
More injured, or
Okay.
he just was rough? Well, I think
I do too many radios.
spoken about
Get them all
this on
confused.
podcasts and stuff, that he has
Well, that sounds lovely.
lingering injuries that are slowing him down.
There's one more step, but I'm pretty sure it's a shortwave. No, it can't be a shortwave thing. What's the next step? Jim, what's the next step?
In the National Football League, and you've been operating a
1500
level that you've been
C3,
operating for that long.
another antenna
It
adjustment.
catches up to you eventually, and I think we're starting to see the
This
beginnings
is
of that.
590 we're listening to.
Basically, the crux of this season is going to come down to, for them, who can emerge out of that receiver group.
If it wasn't for that noise, there's a station there. Another one there.
Essentially the same situation. And you're expecting them to come to a different conclusion. You're asking to be disappointed. That's all you're doing. That's what's going to happen. So don't waste time with an appeal. It doesn't make any sense. All you're going to do is delay the amount of time it takes to resolve. If you go and do the appeal, you're going to be waiting an extra month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes to just...
The Ontario to announce their new leader to help reshape the party ahead of the 2026 election.
Breaking news from the Philippines. Thousands of people are forced to evacuate their homes after a magnitude 7.6 quake hit the coast of the southern island.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Day 2 of renewed fighting in Gaza brings stalled negotiations and a commitment from Israel that it will expand its ground offensive, while humanitarian groups warn of a rising civilian death toll.
To phase down or to phase out? An environmental group is urging the Trudeau government to use the COP28 climate summit to commit to ending the burning of all fossil fuels, but the Feds may not be willing to go that far.
The Maple Leafs will try to make it 3 wins in a row tonight when they face Boston, and it's a rematch for the Marlies and Syracuse this afternoon from the Coliseum. Sports at 45.
And coming up in business, we speak to a small business owner about how adding an electric pickup truck to his fleet has increased his productivity in unexpected ways.
Okay.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Colette Desjardins.
Thanks, and this report is brought to you by AGM Renovations. Heading up to Brampton on the northbound 410, the Brampton Eastbound 407. A vehicle rollover in the right lane. Emergency crews are on the scene. If you're southbound on the 427, the express route to the Gardiner remains shut down, all because of a Coca-Cola truck on its side. It's still on its side, so NTO says it will be closed for quite some time. So the backup right now is from approaching Bloor in the express. Instead, you are going to be forced to go onto the westbound QEW express ramp. But if you're in the collectors, you can take the ramp from the southbound 427 to the eastbound Gardiner. It's at the bottom of the southbound 427. Your last chance to get into the collectors is approaching Bloor. There's a set of transfer lanes right there. On the westbound QEW, we had a crash west of the 427. It's gone, but...
So sometimes when I'm listening, the reason I played that is because you're probably not from around here. You're probably from away. So I'd say what I find is listening to other cities' traffic reports is really interesting, because they name all these roads and everybody knows the names and the common names that are used for roads, and when you listen to it, it's kind of interesting. So I thought I'd let it play. Those are the traffic situations in the city of Toronto you were listening to. And through the city of Toronto runs a highway called the 401 Expressway. That highway is the busiest highway in North America. You might think it's Los Angeles, but actually it's here there in Toronto. About 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers from here, where I am. Okay, let's just check out a couple more.
Taking 100 milligram every 2-3 days, you're deciding to take 3 grams, and then you drive on the highway. But that is not different than having a bottle of wine and driving on the highway. It's just stupid. It's not a risk. It's just common sense. Exactly.
So you wrote a book about your experiences, right?
So I wrote 2 books, actually.
Okay.
My first book, the one I wrote in 10 days, was about my experience.
Right.
And then I wrote a second book that's going to be published in May, which...
Okay, good for her. That was 7:40. We're coming up on 8:60. That's 8:60.
Québec.
Beautiful. The radio's working beautifully. Picking signals up here. This is probably from the United States. Nope, that's here in Canada. LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario. When we go to buy alcohol, my wife and I never buy alcohol. If we were to, we would go to a store called an LCBO, government-operated store, and we would go in and buy our booze. And where'd the booze come from? The government buys the booze in Ontario. Government buys it in bulk, gets it cheap, and then sells it to us. That sounds terrible, man. Most Ontarians kind of like that system. We have the same thing with beer. There's a particular store, guess what it's called? It's called the beer store, and that's where you go to get beer. You can get some in some of the grocery stores, but mostly no. Probably 99% of beer is sold out through these small beer stores. And there's one within walking distance of my house.
Coming over. He was larger than life. Showing up in Mobile.
This is American.
Bigger than the president maybe coming to town for Haiti. I would like to think that he was, I think he showed me some pictures.
Dating, I guess.
It's a value system. It's the way they were raised. They've been very lucky. They've been able to travel down south. They've been able to travel out west. They've been able to travel to central Canada. They've been able to travel all these different areas.
Another Canadian station. That was probably 11:50. And then we might get one more way up here. Plays music all the time. So, despite the noise, unfortunately, that terrible noise, this radio is working really well. It's picking up really well. It's hooked up to a decent antenna now, this E antenna I've talked about quite a bit, which is continuing to prove itself to me all the time to be a great little antenna right from broadcast all the way up to 30 megahertz. So was there not one more thing we had to do? Antenna adjustment C5. I'm afraid I got caught up in listening to the radio. That is really what it's all about, isn't it? Listening to these things. I spend a lot of time working on them and not as much listening to them. So we got to find, just let me peek. I think I already checked where C5 is located. This would be the 1500 antenna condenser. COND, condenser. Okay, so Russ. So this one, I need the tool with the blade. And we need to tune something in here. Oh, I had that one station done. music will get me a copyright hit. So will that. Here we are. Oh, more music. It's Chinese. I think I can get away with it. I think it won't be copyrighted. Weaker. Stronger. Stronger, stronger. Wow. That made a huge difference. A lot of the stations up in this part of the band here in Ontario are small community radio stations broadcasting 20, 30, 50, 100 watts, low power signals. And there's a ton of these in the United States. I think they have something like, correct me if I'm wrong, 10,000 AM radio stations across the United States. 90% of them are 50 watts, 75 watts, stuff like that, even lower, a couple hundred watts. Very, very local, very hard to pick up at a distance. And so when you tune to a certain frequency, if you're not from North America, you might not kind of realize this. You're tuned to a certain frequency, any frequency across this band, any one of the channels, and there's can be 40, 50, 100 radio stations broadcasting on that frequency. Now usually one of them wins the day, you know, the most powerful one that's closest to you wins the day, and the others are knocked out. But in some cases across the AM band there are a few channels where there's nothing local to me that's strong, and consequently I can hear, you know, 50 radio stations yapping all at the same time. It's just a cacophony, a quiet cacophony on the radio. So lots of fun. I'm having lots of fun tuning AM radio. This radio is really hopping. That's wonderful. Let's go back down the other end here and just be sure. There's a station there. That's a Buffalo station, I think. WBEN, I think, is down here. Okay, that's it. Radio's aligned. Volume is good. We got lots of volume now. I think the radio's done. I think its main problem, obviously, the weak tubes in combination with poor alignment, which either the last time I did this radio I did a bad job of it, which is possible. I may have aligned it with the base plate off and then threw the base plate on, and then that can throw the alignment out. That could be what I did. Maybe I aligned it perfectly fine. The tubes were weak. I put new tubes in. Now it stays weak because now the alignment's no longer correct for the tubes I have in the radio. And so what I've been doing is replacing tubes and then correcting the alignment to suit the tubes I put in. Something like that. Fantastic. So I know this radio, I'm not going to give it back to my friend. I'm going to buy it back from him. That's what I'm going to do. I'll give him another radio. I got other radios. Fantastic. So thank you very much for watching this quick tune-up series, and I don't know what I'll do next. I'll put something in here and do something. Have a great day.